Back to the daily grind, and shout out to the full-time patrons. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
And it looks like Nick Diaz may have copped a plea with Usada, as it's being reported by ESPN's Brett Okamoto that Nick Diaz and Usada have reached an agreement concerning his suspension. The fighter has been dealt a 1-year suspension retroactive to the date of the incident, which was April 19th of 2017. Now, if you didn't know why Nick Diaz was suspended, it had nothing to do with steroids, even though it was USADA doping violation. It's because Nick Diaz smokes that good dope, not because he's like injecting no steroids or nothing like that. Actually, Nick Diaz and his brother Nate Diaz are notoriously two of the biggest voices against steroids in MMA. They're famous for saying everybody's on steroids, all these motherfuckers are on steroids, however they said it. So it's really, you know, whenever you see Nick Diaz suspended by USADA, whenever you see anybody suspended by USADA, that's your normal assumption, but not with the Diaz brothers. I think anytime USADA is mentioned with Nate and Nick Diaz, we all assume it's weed. If you remember, Nick Diaz was suspended for like 5 years for, I believe, marijuana, and after his fight with GSP or Anderson Silva, I don't remember, I think it was GSP, and there was a petition, like a certain amount of signatures to get that ban lifted. It was actually lifted from 5 years to like 2 years. It was the ban was reduced significantly, but Nick Diaz still has not been in the cage since then. So yeah, then wasn't Anderson Silva his last fight, so it was probably against Silva then. Yeah, and I think that's the fight Silva had his dick pills thing. But either way, it was reduced, but Nick Diaz still has not been back in the octagon even since that suspension was reduced. Actually, he got suspended again since then, and that's what this suspension is. But it was a whereabouts thing. With USADA, you have to let them know where you're at as a UFC fighter for their doping policy. You have to let them know where you're at for like all 24 hours of the day for like the next month or 2 months in advance, just so they can, you know, randomly drug test people. How can they randomly drug test you if they don't know where you're at? Well, Nick Diaz, you know, I guess they went to look for him at 3 separate times at 3 separate locations, and he wasn't there, so that's an automatic violation, even though Nick Diaz, nobody really thinks is taking steroids. Now, with that being said, it looks like he's reached a deal. I think it was originally like a 2-year suspension, but it looks like he's reached a deal to turn it to a 1-year suspension, which means, since it's served retroactively, Nick Diaz can fight again 9 days from today. But with that being said, that doesn't mean he's going to be in the octagon 9 days from today. We don't know if Nick Diaz is going to fight again. We've seen him in Reebok gear like last month, which was a good sign. So if Nick Diaz does come back, let me know in the comments. Who do you think he'll be fighting? I don't know. I mean, it could be a Bisping retirement fight. Ooh, what if he wanted to fight Bisping in Liverpool? That'd be crazy. I don't think Nick Diaz would necessarily want to go to Liverpool. I don't know, man. Maybe I'll just watch if Nick Diaz comes back to fight, or if Nate Diaz comes back to fight, I'll be watching. But I'm not gonna really sit here and get like too hyped up on it, because Nate Diaz also hasn't fought in a while. But he could be waiting on that Conor McGregor rematch. You know what I'm saying? The lottery ticket. He's already fought Conor McGregor twice. It's 1-1. That trilogy fight's gonna be worth a lot of money. Even though Nate Diaz said he'll be back in May or June, we'll see if that's the case. Nate Diaz has hinted at coming back and going to other sports and just been doing a lot of things since the Conor McGregor fight. So we'll see if he comes back in May or June. I don't necessarily know if he is. I think it's even smarter for Nate Diaz, as far as business is concerned, to wait on the Conor McGregor fight. But at the same time, you don't want to wait no 3 or 4 years. Maybe he gets one fight in the meantime. I wouldn't be mad at that, but I don't know how much. What if Nate Diaz comes out and loses? I don't know if that would really hurt the Conor McGregor fight. I don't think it would. It might, but who knows? We'll see. But as far as Nick Diaz is concerned, dope to see his suspension is going to be lifted early. Hopefully we'll get to see him back in the UFC soon. Let the full-time family know when and who Nick Diaz should be back against. I'm out. Oh, and P.S. one potential opponent that Nick Diaz could return against, the first guy to call Nick Diaz out since we just found out his suspension will be lifted in 9 days, Platinum Mike Perry, he said, if Nick Diaz wants to fight, I'd be down to welcome him back. We can smoke weed all week together and I'd still put these hands on him. Nick Diaz is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but Mike Perry is a black belt with these hands. That would actually be a really good fight, in my opinion. I mean, I could see Nick Diaz just outclassing Mike Perry as far as, you know, picking him apart, and if it goes to the ground, submitting him. But at the same time, if Mike Perry can connect, he might be, you know what I'm saying, he's got some power. And Nick Diaz isn't really known for shooting takedowns, so it would be on the feet. It'd be a nice ass, you know, boxing exchange for a while. Like, both of them are really good with their hands. Nick Diaz, I'm sure, might mix in a couple kicks as well. Maybe Mike Perry as well. But I think it'd be a really good fight. But the thing is, Nick Diaz might be wanting a higher ranked opponent or a bigger named opponent, like a legacy fight. Nick Diaz has fought like Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, BJ Penn, Carlos Condit, like really big names in all of his last 4 fights. So I don't know if he's going to come back and fight, you know what I'm saying, Mike Perry in his return fight. But it would be a really fun fight, I got to admit. I would love to see that fight. But let me know in the comments. If not Mike Perry, then who? I'm out. And as always, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell right next to it so you're notified every time I upload a video. I'm out.
This is #1 bullshit.